Welcome to the debut episode of The Bottom Line, a weekly show dedicated to you, the point spread player. We're going to go through the week's action on every sport, starting off with football for now, but really show you what happened from a gambling perspective on every game, top to bottom. We'll cover them all. My name's Frank. Adam will be here with me every week.
Frank, it's great to be back with you. Frank, what's great about this show is totally focused on the gamblers, the hot topic issues that a gambler faces each week when they make a decision to wager on a game. Coaches' injuries, injuries. We go through the agonizing defeats that a gambler has. We're the shoulder to cry on. And also, we pat them on the back for their great victories.
You got to celebrate the big victories because it makes the bad losses that much easier to handle. And we're going to start off with this week, the biggest game on the board, everyone knows, was the Pats-Eagles. A lot of action on both sides. We're looking at a 24-point spread, and there was no money line for this game. So for us, really, I mean, the game turned out
to be... There's nothing to talk about.
There's nothing to talk about.
We're here on this show to talk about the games that make the gamblers pull their hair out each week. And we're going to start with this game we're going to start this week with the Bears-Broncos. Bears were a 1-point favorite, Soldier Field, Chicago. And if you were a Broncos fan with 5 minutes left in the game, you were thinking, hey, this is in the bag. I'm going to throw all my money on Monday night's game.
Yeah, you're looking, at that point, you're looking to say, where am I at for the week? Am I up? Am I down? But you're looking at Monday night. You're looking at Monday night, and you're looking at the Pats-Eagles game, too, to make a little bit extra money because you're thinking you're ahead at that point. You survived 2 Devin Hester kickoff returns, or 1 punt return and 1 kickoff return for a touchdown, and you're thinking to yourself, well, I was anyway, why do these coaches keep kicking to them? But despite all that, you're there.
You're in the game. You're in the game. And then as often that happens in these games, one play turns it around, and it's the block punt by the Bears. And all of a sudden, the Broncos fall apart. And if you wagered on the Broncos, you're crying 7:30 at night.
I mean, what has killed you in this game? 2 things that are big every game, every weekend. Coaches' decisions to kick the ball to Devin Hester twice. It doesn't make any sense to me. Doesn't make any sense.
A punt return and a kickoff return.
And then your special teams itself just can't execute. They don't tackle Devin Hester. And then they also give up the punt. They give up the block punt.
The question is, if you're Shanahan, why are you kicking this guy? Kick it out of bounds.
I don't have the first clue. I'll be honest with you. The guy's got 11 touchdowns now in a year and a half. The record is 13 of all time. And Brian Mitchell, he's played 13 years in the league.
So often, from a gambler's perspective, you have to look at the coaches who are coaching this game. Because those 14 points are the difference between a win and a loss.
But I got to stop you, though. Mike Shanahan, is a gambler going to look at Mike Shanahan as a coach that's going to cost me a football game? He's supposed to be the master genius, the master motivator. This great coach.
This is a guy who I believe has won maybe 1 playoff game in the last 10 years.
That's a good point. I mean, he did win
John
the Super Bowl.
Elway is not quarterback of that team anymore.
He doesn't have Terrell Davis either.
So that's something you really got to look at.
Okay.
And what that is, Frank, is a Kid Yourself segment of the week is you're out of the game early, okay? And during the middle of the game, your team that you wagered on comes back, only to lose the game at the end. And
they suck
you in, and then they suck the life right back out of you. And the game there's a few games that happened like that this week. There was the Washington-Tampa Bay game where Tampa Bay was up 19-3 at halftime. Washington outgained them second half 390 yards to 100. And
you had Garcia going out.
Garcia was out. And unfortunately, Tampa covered for the people who wagered on Washington. But the game I wanted to talk about this week was the Lions-Green Bay game. Around 2:30 in that game, 2:30 in the afternoon is all the wagers.
Thanksgiving Day.
Everyone was going to Grandma's for turkey. Lions get an early lead. Green Bay comes up and they're killing them by 24 points, and then all of a sudden, what happens? Lions
Detroit start moving the football.
8 points of the game, 6 minutes left.
I'll tell you what I liked in that football game. If you're Rob Marinelli, his defense just did not play well, but he got back to giving Kevin Jones the football, let him run the ball in space, let him catch the ball. The Green Bay linebackers, they're good players, but they're young. And Kevin Jones is a really good running back. Barring injury, Kevin Jones is a Pro Bowl running back.
And they came back. They got it within 8. And what happened was you thought to yourself, okay, we're in this game. 6 minutes left. Detroit's got 1 timeout. Momentum's on our side. And Green Bay goes right back down the field.
Yeah, they shut the door on them. That's what happens in the Kid Yourself game, though. You get sucked back in, and the door gets shut.
Why even do that to a gambler? Don't play. One thing the gambler I don't think likes is their emotions to be played with. If you're going to lose big. If you're going to win big.
I agree with you completely.
Frank, now I'd like to take a moment to talk about last week's game. I was doing some research on week's games, and I've noticed a lot of point spreads with 3-point covers, which I think is very tough for the gambler. And the reason why I think it's tough for the gambler is when you look at this point of the NFL season, the bad teams who are 3-point dogs, especially at home, a gambler is torn here because a lot of the touts are going to be on the home dog. But in reality, the away team is a better team. And I'm looking at the first game here, New Orleans versus, it's a 3-point favorite versus Carolina.
Right.
And your touts are going to say, okay, public is on New Orleans, okay, so let's take the Panthers. However, at this point of the season, New Orleans needs a game, and they only have to win by 3 points. You're almost saying to yourself, the Panthers have to win this game. Don't make it harder than you are as a gambler. Take the Saints there.
I hear you, but I mean, and I understand the premise of the theory. You're looking at that particular game. Saints got, I mean, they have the world to play for. On top of the fact that, I mean, if you're looking from a Carolina perspective, I mean, they haven't won at home in a year. I mean, they can't win a game at home.
Exactly.
But the game that I would counter with, though, I mean, under your way of thinking, what do you think about Rams Seahawks?
Rams Seahawks, I would say, is the same way. Take the Seahawks here because what the general pattern that I find doing my research on these games is this: the dog gets out ahead early, sometimes a 7 to 10 point lead, but being favored only by 3 points in the second half. The team who's the favorite, Seattle in this case, the Rams were up 19-7 in this game. Seattle in this case comes back and they win the game by 5 points. The margin of error for the dog, 3 points, especially a bad team, is so low that it's really hard for them to cover a game. And I always go back to this perspective. Bad teams during this type of season find a way to lose games. And a experienced Seattle team with Coach Mike Holmgren is going to find a way to win the game. He's going to yell at them at halftime. Whatever he needs to do to get his players motivated at halftime to win the game.
If I'm hearing you correctly, this way of thinking that you have right now is really trying to prevent basically the point spread player's worst scenario.
Correct.
Which is always right side, wrong outcome. I mean, that's really what you want to prevent. I mean, there's games you're going to lose. You just make bad picks. What can you do? I mean, we'll talk about that actually a little bit later today. There was a bad play this week. I mean, there was clearly a bad play. But you can make bad plays, and that happens. Nothing you can do about it. What you don't want to do is be on the right side of a football game and have the wrong outcome come and bite you right in the ass.